Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. A huge row has erupted over the early release of prisoners in Scotland after it's revealed that one prisoner was put back behind bars within 12 hours of being released. And now jail governors have revealed that they've actually vetoed the release of over 200 prisoners. These are prisoners that the likes of Angela Constance and Dorothy Bain felt were acceptable to be released into society, but which the governors of the prison said, "Oh my God, are you kidding me? No." Got to thank heavens that the governors were strong enough to say no. Very few people would have the spine, certainly not in political terms, but they did draw the line. So well done to them. Now, obviously, the scheme was introduced to help with the overcrowding in the Scottish prison system. And so around 500, just under 500 prisoners were released between June and July. And it's been awful ever since. There's just been absolute failure after failure on this front. Now, it's emerged that something like around 170 odd prisoners that were released. It's been revealed that 171 of the prisoners that were due to be released, should I say, were actually kept locked up after these governors said no. Because the risk, these governors figured that the risk was just too great for the people of Scotland. And, this is what I'm saying, quite right. Now, the Policing and Justice magazine, that's called 1919, revealed that one man who was freed found himself back inside after getting drunk and assaulting, doing an Amesbury, doing a Mike Amesbury, getting pissed and assaulting someone. Goes to show that Mike Amesbury ought to perhaps be in prison, but that's a different matter. Now, Victim Support Scotland are saying that there needs to be a complete reappraisal, rethink and reassessment of this policy. And there should be no early releases, and certainly not of violent criminals. They're saying there's not enough or not adequate, at least, preparation to release. There's no rehabilitation offered. And there's no access to any of the support services. Often there aren't even arrangements to see that these prisoners have got homes to go to. This is one of the problems that they're having. Nobody within the service is doing their job properly. And of course, they're not going to be able to, are they? Don't have the funding, don't have the money. So what do they expect to happen? These guys are coming out. They're given a little pocket money, sent on the way. They drink, they get angry, whatever. They're going to cause crime, Now, under the early release scheme, as it was originally set out, and as they promised that they'd do, nobody that was convicted of sort of a violent assault or sexual or domestic abuse would be offered free early release. That's what they promised. However, that's not what happened. And indeed, many, one would say, well, too many, regardless of what the number was, of these deviants were released. Violent criminals were released. Threats were made. Intimidation has occurred. Exactly what everyone said would happen, and which the government said, no, it won't happen. Strange that. It happened. And of course, you're putting the public at immediate harm. You're putting victims at harm. Witnesses go at harm. These people deserve to have been told in advance that these prisoners were being released. They weren't even told. One girl, a victim of one of these criminals, only realised that he'd been released when she saw him on the street. I mean, that's got to be quite traumatic, surely. Now, Malcolm Paul, who is the mentoring services manager at Heavy Sound, which operates a prison-based programme, said that sufficient support was just not in place. It was never offered, but it needs to be provided for because it's essential when you're releasing prisoners because it helps them to reintegrate and helps cut recidivism. Then you don't get that reoffending rate. You keep the reoffending rate low. But without the resources to supply that, what do we expect? Well, we know we expect. We expect exactly what's happened. Criminals released, reoffend, go back in, and then sit there and go, well, that was dumb, wasn't it? But then you'll be fairly dumb, haven't you? One man that he was apparently helping, this is Malcolm Paul, he said he was helping just up to a week, prior to his release date, had suddenly been released with just 3 days' notice. He said that was leaving insufficient time for him to prep him for release. This was the one that was back in prison within 12 hours. Oh, hello, what are you doing back? Oh, well, I went out, got pissed, hit someone. Here I am again. But if he's hitting members of the public, that's bad, that's wrong. But I mean, if it was politicians, you've got to kind of be on the side of the prisoner, on the of the criminal, really, haven't you? Sometimes. Anyway, Scottish Conservative Justice spokesman Liam Kerr, he was being up. He's piped up again. He was one of the biggest critics, of course, at the time, still is, and he was just saying it looks like these are astonishing statistics. He says, but they're the ones that everyone expected. We told them this would happen. And it just lays bare the sheer stupidity of those making the decisions in the Scottish government. Well, it's Angela Constance. Of course it's stupid, He said the very fact that prison governors felt that some prisoners were too dangerous to release is really the only safety precaution that we have. Said without them doing their job properly, we'd have released far more dangerous offenders back onto the streets. And who knows what that would have done. People could have ended up being murdered by a policy that the SNP seem to think is virtuous and wonderful. They're doing that, of course, at the same time as they're cutting police resources. And the police are about to go on strike. Well, work to rule for the police, but on strike for the police support services. Over this very point, lack of resources, lack of money, lack of manpower. There's just not enough policemen. But then they release all these prisoners. Now, Kerr was saying that the Tories warned them. They said that what would happen, and of course it's happened. But they don't want to get into a game of "I told you so." It's far too, don't want to be smug or anything. But they're saying that the SNP's reliance on this early release scheme, demonstrates how disconnected they are from the public. And we've said before, they are disconnected. They live in ivory towers. They're well away from the pointy end. They never see the result of their policies because they're insulated from them, And of course, it's the people that aren't. It's the people living in their houses, going around their daily lives, that are the ones that suffer because of these policies and always will. And that's the sad part of it. Angela Constance was asked about it. Angela Constance refused to answer. Not really surprising, is it? She hates answering questions because always the answers are pretty bad. But hey-ho, let me know what you think. Thanks very much. Bye.